Hi, and welcome back to SEO On-Air. I'm your host, Aaron, and today we talk to Lance Moore, Senior SEO Strategist at Uptick Marketing. We talk a lot about content marketing, metadata, and schema markup, and how to do local search optimization. Hope you enjoy. I think that was in 2012 was when you started your digital marketing career. So could you tell us a bit more before that, and then how'd you get into it?
Yeah, for sure. So I fell into digital marketing in a probably like how most people got into it. You just were curious about how does the internet, how do advertisements, how do websites, how does Google work? And so I saw a job opening for it was a dorm bedding company, and they sold custom dorm bedding to girls who were going to go and enter their freshman year of college. And I thought, hey, this will be a great opportunity for me to learn more on top of what I've been doing. And I've been doing like some freelance gigs. I was posting on blogs and social media, helping put together content. And so I wanted to just keep learning and keep growing because I thought this would be a great industry to get into. And so I got a job at this dorm bedding company and also worked for her other business. And they did like custom like draperies and things like that. And they were doing online marketing. And so I really got in before it became what it is today, before it became such a big deal. And so I did that for a period of time. And then I met a guy named Jerry Brown, and he was actually trying to pitch us a website where I worked. And I thought, I want to take the next step in my career, and I really want to immerse myself where I can be around a lot of different environments, a lot of different projects, people who do this every day for a living, because I was figuring out on my own. I was reading blogs, I was reading content. I was just trying to figure out what in the world is digital marketing. And so Jerry hired me, and I started Infomedia, and that's our sister company. They're the web development company arm, and they handle all website development. So I started there in their marketing department as me and Jerry, and Jerry and I. And so we worked there, and the owner decided, hey, there's a great opportunity out there in the marketplace. Let's go ahead and start a digital marketing agency. And so that's been almost 9 years ago. He said, hey, Lance, do you want to start with us? We're going to be starting this new company. And I was like, yeah, that was part of the reason why I came over, is because I was told there's going to be a good opportunity coming down the road. And so this agency started, and there were 3 of us and on day one. And now there's I think we're right around 35 people. And so we've just grown, and they've given me a lot of great opportunities to learn and grow in SEO and learn just so many different type of skills I ordinarily wouldn't have had. And so that's how I started. Really, I started from nothing. I taught myself. I just surrounded myself with people who knew a lot of things about digital marketing, and then I was just able to grow. And I still have to surround myself with people who know so much. And so it's been really, really helpful.
Curious, in the 9 years that you've been there, what were some of the major changes you saw in the digital marketing sphere?
Yeah, so a lot of the changes that we've seen has just been really what the marketplace values at that time. So as an example, pay-per-click wasn't as valued as it is today. Just for our clients that we worked with, now people are more aware of what pay-per-click is. They're more aware of SEO. So the demand for our services wasn't there like it is today. And so we were really having to educate businesses on what is digital marketing. And people were like, I don't know that I should put my money behind something that's not really tangible, like a billboard or newsprint ad, all these things that feel so archaic for us today. They're still useful and they have their place, but digital marketing is where most of us live now. And so I've seen things grow from basically where there wasn't a demand. Now there's a market for it. Now there's people who are looking for these services. And the next thing now is really us trying to figure out how can we continue to grow? How do we adapt to whatever, if it's Google making an algorithm update, or is it AI that's infiltrating what we do? How do we incorporate all of those topics and ideas into making ourselves a better company?
And we can maybe get into the AI topic at some point, but we'll work our way there, I guess. The 9 years that you've been there, you've seen it all technically. You kind of pulled, I guess, your company out through all the algorithm updates. could you say there was a strategy in place that you had, and how did you come across, or how did you formulate that strategy?
Yeah. So I would say like the strategy has always just been like a hunger to learn, and like as long as you're hunger to learn, you're going to be able to you can figure it out. Like Google will say, hey, we're coming up on an algorithm update. Sometimes they don't tell us that. Usually it's the ones that they don't tell us, the ones that kind of get us. They're a little surprising. Yeah. And so as an example, like Google's algorithm update, EEAT, not EAT, they changed it recently. We made a big adjustment when that happened. Like what we did is we restructured everything in the way we do content. We literally said, hey, produce content just for frequency, like just produce content to almost produce it. And it worked and it was good at the time. But Google said, which makes sense. Google said, hey, look, the users aren't valuing that. What they're going to value is that they're going to value good, high quality content. It's about like expertise, experience, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And that all combines to this update. Helpful content update is also part of this. So we've adjusted our strategy and producing less content and producing more high quality content, things that the people who are searching for, whatever it may be, maybe it's HVA service near me, or like, how do I do this? Like we are creating that content for them. So that way, when they're looking for it, it's what they want to see. And it's not just for Google. So that's how we've made an adjustment.
Can we get into that and ask you actually, how do you do it? How do you actually conduct keyword research? And before you start, I feel like the answer might be similar to a lot of agency owners and what they already have planned. So is there, let's say, a secret step that you have that changes you above the rest?
Yeah, I would say like what we do as far as keyword research, and you just asked a few minutes ago, is like, what do you guys do? How do you make adjustments? Well, one thing that we just made a big adjustment on internally is that we're doing a lot of pre-keyword research. We just found out that when we were going into the meetings that we had a good understanding of the client's business, but what we needed to really do is come in with more ideas and really help separate us, help us have better conversations with clients. So that's something we've done pretty recently of changing. We come in there with at least some base keyword research, basic topics of like, hey, so you're in, let's just say it's the trucking industry. Do you call your trucks 18-wheelers? There's like piggybacks. There's like over-the-road trucks. There's so many different ways people say this. And as an example, that client's like, hey, I don't want you to use these words. I'm like, okay, great. We'll avoid that in our keyword research. So that's one thing that we've done to adapt. And then I'd say like, as far as secret sauce, it's really just being, it's not being intentional. Like I won't say intentional, but it's really being deliberate and like thinking about that customer journey. Like what are the topics that people may be searching for at the top of the funnel versus like what's at the bottom of the funnel. So maybe at the top of the funnel, it's like, what is digital? Like for us, I'm just thinking like, what is digital marketing? So let's create something that drives some awareness. And then as we get closer to closing the deal, it may for us, and for maybe other businesses, it's going to be something that's more like transactional, or it could be like agency near me, HVAC, repair near me, or dental office near me. So creating content around that combined with like a local SEO strategy is what we found to be really successful.
And this is going to be kind of like a two-part question, actually. Once you do come up with, let's say, a set of keywords that you feel will perform well, and you do incorporate it into your content or your website and whatever you need it to, how do you kind of audit that performance and check whether or not it's actually performing the same way you expected it to? And the second part, with the tools you use to actually help you out, if you do use tools.
Yeah. So how do we evaluate what is working? Yeah, that's a good question, because like, I think we all know that we need to be doing keyword research and we all do it, but it's like follow up on like, did what I actually did it produce like a better result? So, well, what I like to do is I like to do the keyword research and then I like to organize it what I call a blueprint, like a metadata blueprint. And that's going to have the page titles, the page meta description, H1s. And we'll also cover alt text in there too. So we're going to go in there, we're going to take, I like to call it an art science. The art of it is, how do I get my message across in a way that's going to be like convincing, in a way that I'm going to actually drive clicks to my website? And then the science of it is knowing like, well, what keywords and how do I have to manipulate, if we will, those keywords in Google to drive more traffic. So that's a little bit about kind of like the strategy of like keyword implementation and what does that look like and how do we get there. And then as far as, I think you were asking tools, like what do we do, how do we do tools and things. Some tools that we that like I like to use. Schema is a great tool for keyword research. It's probably it's definitely my go-to. It's one of my favorite tools out there. Also, if you're not just go to Google search results and just type in whatever your keyword is. Look at what Google might already be auto-populating the autofill. Also scroll down maybe like where it's the top 10 results. Just below that, it will give you some secondary ideas. And if you click a page result and you come back to the organic, Google's organic search page, it'll start to spit out some more ideas. Like the people also ask questions. So like those are good things to think about if you're looking at keywords, you're looking at content strategy. That's another great place. The last thing that I'll mention too is that Google Trends. That's also another place. Like if you want to just figure out, like we have some clients who are in seasonal businesses, whether it may be fishing. And so like it's very seasonal. And so there's peaks, there's valleys. And so we'll figure out, all right, well, when is it peaking? Okay, great. Well, we need to go ahead and start ramping up our efforts 4 or 5 months ahead of time to be ready. So that way when the demand's there, we'll have everything produced and ready.
More of like what exactly does metadata and schema markup do to help a website or how does it really help in an SEO side?
Yeah. So, and you also, earlier too, you were saying, Lance, how does an SEO process work? Well, this comes back to the question that you just asked, is that we start at the very base, a technical SEO audit. And so we're looking through things like you were just mentioning, like the metadata. We're also going to be looking at like, do they have schema markup included? I mean, there's a whole list. There's like over 100 touch points that we're looking through. We're going to touch from sitemap, robots file, like is everything set up right? And the most important thing like that you want to do is like what's going to actually add value. Like if you think about like if you run an SEO audit tool, there's tons of SEO audit tools. You could go and find anything that you want to, and it'll come back and it'll say, hey, here's a billion errors, and so what you need to do is you got to figure out what is actually valuable from that tool and take that, implement it. Because like, just think about our home, like wherever you live, your home or your car or something like that, like there's going to be mess, there's going to be dirt. You don't really have to clean up everything, but you want to take care of what's most important. Maybe it's cleaning the interior of the car and outside. You don't have to worry about under the hood and all the nooks and crannies. You want to do what's the most valuable, what's the most impactful for you.
Prioritize.
I say the same thing for like businesses who come to us. They're like, I have this SEO audit on I have the technical, it says metadata is messed up. I don't have schema, or maybe I have all these and there's like 100 other issues. I'm like, let's figure out what's the one or two issues that's going to move the needle for you, and let's forget the rest. And then let's keep moving on to the next step. For us, and how I do SEO is I like to do content after technical. Let's do technical. Let's make sure everything checks out. It can be crawled, indexed, or rendered. Everything's good for your site as far as site health is concerned. And then we move on to the content phase.
But what would you say are some of the common problems that some of these agencies have when they're trying to implement some type of technical SEO? And what are the ways to go about that?
I would say like there's a few. One of the things that I see is just having the understanding what the people are, the stakeholders, whether it's the owner of that business or it's the marketing director or if it's the development team, like understanding why they wouldn't want to make your updates. Like you got to position as an SEO expert, you got to position the value of what you're bringing to the table. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to hear it, understand it. And everything that I'm putting together or an SEO expert's going to put together, like it's going to hinge on whether or not that person wants to pull the trigger and wants to push the button to do those things. So you got to think about what's valuable for them and what are they going to get out of it. I would say that's one of the things that can be really difficult at times is getting that done. And I think you also asked like, what are the things to look for, like as far as like an SEO agency, I think, is that right?
Yeah. How to pretty much work around stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I would say like things to look for in an SEO agency, like you want to find somebody who's going to be transparent. Like they're going to tell you, they're going to set the expectations. You feel confident, like as a client, you should feel confident that you can ask any question and not like get just sort of maybe a half answer, but you need to look for them to give you a clear and transparent answer. I'd say that's what really separates people and someone you trust. Like, I mean, we all, like, in business, we want to work with people we trust. So, like, you should feel good if you want to work with an agency that you can trust them. And I'd say the last thing that you want to look for, like, if you're shopping around for an agency or looking for some help, is like, just ask them, like, how are we going to measure results? Like, how are you going to show me that what I'm paying you to do is working? So I would say, yeah, like, transparency, trustworthiness, and results focus is what I would recommend someone who is looking for an agency.
All right. To move into the SEO agency part of it again, if we, let's say, identified some key indicators of an SEO agency and they do hit the check mark of transparency, they are trustworthy, and they can in some way, shape, or form provide like the results that they can promise at least. How do I, let's say, as a potential partner, make sure of that? And what are some questions I can ask to, completely create a better picture about them?
I'd say questions that you should be asking your agency is like, show me what you've done. Tell me what you've done. What have you done? What are you doing next, and why? So I think those are really good questions. And if you work with a good agency, they're already going to be thinking that because they've had experience and they are already going to assume that, hey, I need to tell the client what I've done, what I'm doing next, and what matters to them. So I would say, like, those are the really key ingredients to ask and to really consider.
Another, let's say, any red flags that we should be aware of? And if there are red flags, how can one, let's say, navigate that situation?
There are some red flags. I'd say, like, if you get solicited like the same email over and over, and it sounds like it's too good to be true. Like, it sounds like it's going to be, hey, it's $100 for SEO services. Like, you're going to get $100 worth of SEO services. It's not going to be good. So, like, anything when it sounds like it's too good to be true, just avoid it. Like, just don't do it. That would be a recommendation. And
Number one.
If someone promises, like, hey, you're going to build like 100 links or 1,000 links or whatever it is, and we're going to do it really quickly and cheaply, like, avoid that too, because, like, that could harm you and that could backfire on your progress for your SEO. So,
if, let's say, I am that agency with the red flags, obviously to correct it, I would have to take into consideration most of what the clients are giving me back in terms of feedback. But what would be ways to change my course to now align myself into what clients are usually interested in?
That's a good question. I feel like that's a good question. Like, if you're in a manager role or like a director role in an agency and you feel like, hey, I think we're getting left behind, or I don't think we're providing value, my recommendation would be to first figure out why do you think that? Like, why do you think you're not providing the right value? What do you think's wrong? Write the problem down and then come up with a solution to it. So write that down. I find really good success in writing things out. So that just get some pen and paper or type it out. What's the problem? Why do I think there's a problem? And then propose what the solution would be. If you do that and you think through it some, you feel good and confident with your reasoning behind it, then I would encourage that person, depending on how much leverage or how much power you have in your role, if you have to go and ask for approval, then I would go to your boss. It may be a director or VP or R, and I would say, hey, I've heard a lot of different things from our customers. Here's what I think we should do. Here's a problem and here's a solution. That'll set you as just an SEO professional apart from everyone else, just coming up with not just the problem, but the solution to the problem. And then be willing to listen to whatever feedback they give you. They may say, hey, it sounds great. They may also say, hey, I want you to go back, come up with something else. So don't take it as a personal thing if they ask for questions. Just think, hey, this is an opportunity for me to help us as an organization go and track in the right direction.
All right. Local search optimization. I think some people who at least are in this field don't have this question. But when they do approach others who are, let's say, looking for these services, they have to ask, is it really necessary? Do I need SEO right now? So I'm going to try to, let's say, well, it's not really a game, but I'm going to play a little situation type thing. I'm going to give you a situation and you can just hit me back with what exactly is going to happen. So we can start with the first one. If you stop optimizing your local presence, what would happen?
Yeah, if you stop optimizing your local presence, you're not going to be relevant anymore. You're just going to fall out. you're probably going to fall out of the maps. You're going to get left behind in the dust. Your competitors who are doing local SEO, like they're going to continue to outpace you. So the gap between you and your competitors is going to continue to widen. So if you decide, hey, 3-6 months from now, you're like, oh, what's going on? I'm not getting the business I had. Well, you got to do a lot more work to almost catch up to where they are, because they're doing things that you decided not to do. So like that's what's going to happen. And I've seen this happen several times when clients say, hey, I think we've kind of reached the mountaintop and we want to stop here and we're just going to coast. Like there's no coasting in SEO. It's always changing. And I don't say that, like, I think sometimes when a client may hear that is they think, well, that's just us. Like that's a good sales pitch for us to keep doing business. It's really not. It's really like, if you stop doing SEO, you will, like, things will deteriorate slowly over time. It's like exercise or fitness. You go to the gym, you build up, you get stronger, and then you stop exercising for a period of time. Let's just say it's a month. You don't lose it all at once. Like it's a slow, kind of like a slow. And the same thing for SEO. Like when you stop doing SEO, it's a slow fade, and then eventually you're like, you know what? We actually were doing really, really good, and now we're not. And now we got to kind of reboot and do this again. So.
Yeah, I think the same answer might be applicable to all of them, where you're going to start losing out. But I'll try to get more, let's say, specific about it. Let's say what happens if you don't monitor the technical site issues. Again, the technical site issues, what happens if you don't really monitor them or keep a check on them?
Yeah, another good point. Technical health, we were talking earlier in the podcast about like keeping things clean. Like we'll use an example of like your room, like rooming your house, like keeping it clean. Like if you just let it go, you don't go in, you don't check on it, it's going to fill up with dust and dirt. And if you use it frequently, then it's going to fill up with more dust and dirt. You just decide not to take care of it. You're really neglecting that asset of yours. So translate that over to your SEO. If you just say, hey, we're just going to focus on content and not worry about anything technical, bad idea. And here's why, is that over time, things change. It's like going back to the analogy of your house. Things get dirty, things get messed up. Well, your website, things break over time. So you need to be constantly engaging with those technical pieces. And I mean, I spend on average, like with a client, like 15 minutes a month. There's like key touch points. I want to look at Google Search Console. There's a checklist I want to go through there. I want to look in Google Analytics. There's a checklist I want to go there. And then I want to do a visual inspection on their website really quickly. We're talking about 15 minutes max. Those 15 minutes can save you a tremendous amount of time in the long run and headache. If you're there with a client and something breaks, you can catch it sooner and you can be proactive and you can say, hey, look, we found this or we fixed this and we did this, versus if you don't do a checkup, you don't clean up, 3 months down the road, you're like, wait, I've noticed traffic's been dropping off. Oh my gosh, someone no-indexed our website, or something like that. Or they no-indexed part of the website, which these things have happened with clients I worked with, is that a developer has decided to not index part of the website for maybe they're developing something or they're working on something and it falls out of the index. And then we're like, hey, we noticed this. So always, always, always be doing a technical health check. I recommend a monthly one. Spend 15 minutes. You get it done and you move on.
And let's say you got the technical side of it checked. You didn't mention the content side of it. What if I am uploading content, but I'm not really updating old content?
Ooh, yeah, good point. I would say, so like with content, yes, you should be thinking about what should I be producing? Like how do I become a thought leader? Like what is that? And that may be, depending on your industry, it may be a piece every day. It may be weekly. It could be monthly, but think about what is that that's going to differentiate you among your competitors. Like make yourself the thought leader. So that way when like your clients are thinking of something, like where they're thinking of, you know what, I need to learn more about this service. Oh, you know what? So-and-so, I remember him telling me, or he sent me a blog, or I Googled it. I found a blog from their company. Great way to do that. Also, I think, yeah, you were asking like, okay, what do I do with old content? Like how do I handle old content? Go to your Google Search Console. Quick little tip. Go to Google Search Console. Look at your top like performing pages, organize them, and then see what pages are usually like 3 through 10, and then click on do a little analysis in those, seeing that if the traffic's dropped, okay, well, then what do I need to do to update or refresh? So like some things, they just aren't relevant anymore. So if you need to go in, update that content with what's useful and current. And then I've seen this work, you update it, and then it starts to get traction again. Like we've done this for several different pieces for our clients, and I have. And so you go in, you make those edits, and you can see them pick up and they spike.
I got the question. Yeah. Does the same thing work with revamping outdated pages?
Yeah. So the same process does apply for updating old pages of content. Is you should periodically, on like an annual basis, I would say, go back and look at your evergreen content. Look at how it's performing. Is it performing better? Is it performing worse? You know, if it's performing worse, then it's definitely time to update and review that content and make some adjustments. And we talked earlier about what are ways I can do that. Well, look at keyword research. Like do some keyword research. Maybe the demand for that one keyword phrase has shifted into something else. After you do your keyword research, then move into the content brief. The content brief piece there, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look at the competition, and you're going to want to see what are they talking about that maybe I'm not. Incorporate that, but also like that's great. I think that's where a lot of people leave it, is they just look at the search results. Like I just want to use like this what we call skyscraper technique. I'm just going to kind of follow and do what everybody else is doing. It's good, but here's what makes it better: is really dig in really, really deep, and think through what are the things that like I'm getting asked a lot, or I know my client. Let me go to my client. Let me ask my client now, like, what are the things that you're getting asked a lot that we're not covering in this service, or we're not covering this piece of content, and incorporate that in there. That's what's going to make you like distinguishable amongst the competition, and that's what's going to help you in the Google search results. It's just going to be a much better value to the people who are reading the content versus like just having done like, I saw what everybody else is doing, now I want to copy what they do. You got to copy what they do, but also think beyond just mimicking what everyone else is doing.
But let's say I've made like a couple of good pages, and now a few of them are doing good and I'm kind of happy with it. Is there an issue if I stop building new pages, or can I just keep it at the 3 that I need?
I would say, well, I mean, it depends. Like the great SEO answer is always saying it depends. I'll give you an example of where I would say I would stop building service pages. Let's say you're an HVAC company. Those services stay pretty standard. Like you're going to have HVAC repair, furnace repair, or if you're a dental office, like teeth cleaning, whitening cleaning, cavity filling, etc. So like all those services are going to be the same. Keep all of those pages same. I don't think if you add a new service at your business, you add a new product line or a new service line, yes, you should create a service page for that. But
right,
if you don't have anything new, then just keep what you got. You're doing a good job. Do that. Now, where that's not the case is, let's say that you don't want to branch out to new markets. This is where the things get a little tricky. You want to branch out to new markets. You're like, hey, I'm going to really my market here, but I really see great opportunity over in this city, and this city, and this city, and this city. There's a lot to consider about that. That if you're considering trying to branch out into other geolocations, other cities, you want to really dial in why you're doing it and how can I be successful and how can I measure it. One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to just go out there and just like shotgun hundreds and hundreds of pages. Like that's not a great strategy. Is I would go like, depending on the size of your company, your business, I would start small and I would test and I would see what works, what doesn't work. Then go to the next phase. Maybe you want to do this a couple of rest cities. So let's start small and work yourself big. That's where you're going to find the most success in doing that. And if you're also, just one other thought, if you're a business, and we just talked about this, and so like you're opening up like physical locations, like let's say you're franchising out to new locations. Yes, you need a location page. Like you're going to build, you should be building location pages for every single location that you're going to add, new location page for it. That's what I would do.
I kind of want to move to the next one, but I do have a question about something you kind of mentioned earlier in these situation questions. When it came to providing fresh content or revamping outdated pages, I think maybe providing fresh content in that aspect that I'm going for. We heard from someone in the previous guest that if you simply change the date of publishing, that could create a good impact in the Google search. So I wanted to know your take and opinion on that.
Well, I'll say yes, that is true. I'll say the other reason you want to update, depending on what the content topic is that the other reason you want to update that publish date is that if I'm looking up something that's, let's just say it's new in the industry, what am I trying to say? Like maybe, I don't know, just something new in the industry. Well, your publish date, like if there's an article that's out there and it says it was published like 2 years ago, and then your article says it was updated or it was published like 3 days ago, you updated that publish date, which article do you think is going to feel the most relevant to me? Like that's a timely sensitive. You're going over the one that's got the most recent published date versus the one that was like, hey, this was published 6 months, 2 months, or 6 months, 2 years ago. So like that's another good reason I think about like just updating the publish date is just for the sheer fact of like the optics of it, and people are going to think, oh, hey, this is a relevant piece. It was just published pretty fresh. So it's probably updated. So that's another good reason.
So sorry about this, but here's a curveball question. Where do we stand on the ethics of that?
Ooh, how so?
If let's say in order to get my article to rank, I now can just change the metadata and to at least fit the publication date of a more recent time. In a way, I'm trying to fool Google to push content that was old to thinking that it's new, updated, relevant content. I might not have updated it, but it's just mainly the data that has been updated.
Yes, no, that's the question. And I do want to say, yes, I'm glad you asked that. Because one thing I want to make sure is I don't want to seem like we're trying to fool Google. Like, right. I mean, there's things that we all know as SEOs, there's things we can do, and we can like sort of, we're playing the game. Like it's a game, and you know what? Like it just SEO is a game, and you got to figure out where Google's moved the cheese that day and what they've done. I would say like if you really are doing it for the right reasons, I want to make sure I'm clear about it. Is that if you're not doing the publish date, like you should be updating the content in there too. Like think about that, because like just updating a publish date isn't going to be the catapult, but it's helpful for like users. So like if you're updating your publish date, like go ahead and like update the content too. Like update, revamp the content. I mean, we're not talking about rewriting the whole thing, but look at like what's new about this. So yeah,
I was going to say that it doesn't really fall under like a black hat technique, but it's more of just like whether or not you feel morally good doing it without actually adding the value.
Yeah. And I think if your goal as SEO is to help that page rank in SEO, and so if, hey, I'm the SEO and I worked really, really hard. This, me and my team, we've worked really hard to publish in this piece. I'm going to do whatever I can to give my piece the competitive advantage. If it's updating that date, it's updating that date. But while you're updating the date, again, going back to it, like think about, hey, there's probably content that let's consider what should we add. Like if we're just doing it just to update the date to get better rankings or get more traffic, maybe there's other things to consider as part of that. So just I would say that.
All right. This is going to be a quick hot topic technically because we've also been hearing so much about it. But I think it's also kind of impossible to not hear about it nowadays. And we've also spoken about it technically on the call, like just a bit brief. AI in marketing, ChatGPT, Bard, Bing AI. How do you measure how good they're going to be in terms of helping marketing? And where do you stand on just its evolution so far?
So, I was going to make some funny comment, but
it's fine. I think I've always started the AI conversation with talking about Skynet, so like it's fine. I get it.
Well, to the new world. No. Let me see. I had something that I was just thinking. I'm going to pull it up here really quick because I know we're getting close on time. Let me find this piece.
All right. I do have to mention, though, that I feel like AI has been a part of our lives for quite a while, but only now people are actually opening their eyes to see it.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I want to say that because people at work are like, not people at work, but just people in general, like, oh my gosh, this AI. I'm like, you can record this. Like, this is fun to throw in there. I don't know. If it makes sense, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, Google has always been an AI machine. It's literally AI. Like, it's all artificial intelligence. Like, it's computer generated. All the stuff that we're reading, it's all computer generated. And there's inputs and there's outputs. So AI is, it's been out for a long time. It's not like this just all of a sudden we're like, oh my gosh, no, they released Chat GPT and it got a lot of attention. And there's a lot of reasons why it got a lot of attention. It can do a lot of things. But I would say, like, the thing that, like, if you're in the industry, you might be thinking, oh my gosh, like, what am I doing? Like, my job's, no, your job's not endangered. Like, I was telling the owner of the company the other day, like, I think this may have been yesterday. I was like, hey, AI has always been a thing. It's always been here. And I was talking to someone probably like 8 years ago that went Uptick started, and I was doing meta descriptions. And I do not like, no one likes doing meta descriptions. Are boring. They're not fun.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be a tool one day where, like, literally you could just tell a machine or something or another to, like, produce this, and it'll spit it out, and you just tweak it and you edit it to what you want. And here we are today. There's a machine that you can drop it in there and it'll pop it out.
Yep.
And it works. The one thing I do want to say about, like, if they're using AI is that, what was I going to say? Oh my gosh. The one thing is that if you're using AI, is that everybody else is going to start doing it too. So you got to think about, like, how do I distinguish myself amongst everyone else who's using AI out there? So, like, AI doesn't really get voice so much. Like, they don't know the voice of your brand. They don't know the voice of your business. You can tell them, hey, I want you to mimic the voice of, like, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Great. But do they know the voice of your business or your brand that you're working with? No, they don't. So you make your input may be like, give me ideas on this. Well, they will give you ideas. Now, does that match the brand voice?
Exactly.
Probably.
No.
But that's where you got to use your intelligence and then take that and run with it. So I think that's where AI is going to be almost like, I think about my grandparents, and when, like, I go to their house and they would cook, like, they use the raw ingredients. Like, it was raw ingredients. It wasn't like pre-made, kind of like if you're baking a cake, everything was raw ingredient. They would mix it all up.
There would no be
for like the cake batter in a bag. It's already made for you. You mix it up. It's going to serve its purpose, but you got to add, like, some icing on top. You got to add a few extra elements to make it more valuable than just using it for what it is. Now, on the flip side of that, like, Google's also put out some updates on, like, hey, if you're producing AI content, like, it's not going to be valuable. We all should know that. We all should be aware of that. I thought it funny too that they put out Bard and they dropped this email recently, which I thought about doing just a post on myself. As in their Bard email, it said something like, you can use Bard to write an additional fourth paragraph. You can tell Bard write an additional fourth paragraph for my, like, let's just say baking recipe or whatever it is. And I'm like, I thought all it is, the point of it was to tell us what that baking. Anyways, I don't know. I think it's a little confusing. And then Google CEO went on 60 Minutes, and he talked about he's doing his campaign trail, like, kind of say what Google's going to do and how AI is going to revolutionize everything, how they're the top dog and all this. I don't know. I'll make a sorry, I know we're running out of time. I'll make a prediction that
Why it's not.
Anybody can say this, but a year from now, Google search results page is going to look a lot different. It's going to be very, very different. A year from now, it'll probably be much sooner, but a year from now, like, our strategies that we're talking about today, it's going to look very different in what we have to do, because the market's starting to get kind of chopped up in different segments. You got Google, you got TikTok that's kind of competing in a way, like, it's a much younger crowd, but folks go to TikTok to research. You've got Chat GPT. You've got Bing, I can't remember the name of it, but you got that AI. So, like, there's a lot of competing factors out there. And what we're all looking for is, like, answer my question. I just need an answer. How do I do this? How do I change a flat tire? I don't need 1,000 videos and search results. I just need one single answer. So, anyways.
Or, like, you don't need to go through, like, 2-3 pages of Google links to find out which is the best way.
No. Now, it's going to be interesting for those people who are publishing that type of content. Like, how does that look like a year from now? I won't really know. I've always said for a long time that your website is your most valuable asset. So, like, you should, if people come to your website find out how it just depends on your intention. Maybe you can get their email, you can email them out so like you have control of that. With Google, you have control, but it's also changing. The marketplace is always changing. Think about your website. Like your website is what you own and you manage. Email is the same thing. So think about those channels, what you own and manage. I'm not saying you should consider SEO. You shouldn't do social media or paid ads, but look at investing in your website, because SEO and website combined, like those will pay dividends long term. I can answer it quickly. I don't know if it's a good answer, but I would just say, I think there should be a fear and there should be a like hopefulness for it. I think would just even like think about the internet. There was fear. Oh my gosh, like all this information's out there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of good that's come with it too. Like now I can communicate with friends or family in other states. I can send an email. I can video call them. I can do so many different things. Like, I mean, there's pros and cons to it. I think I would say I feel like it's going to. I think you're also going to find like if you're not providing anything that's valuable, then like it's not going to be good for you. Like if you're just kind of like recirculating the same information, well, AI can do that. So like that's no longer valid. But like if you're thinking, how can I be a thought leader and a leader in my industry in that sense, then AI will help you AI is going to help you with that. And there's even some plugins with AI that I use on ChatGPT for SEO purposes. And I think it's great. People write these little scripts and codes that help me do what I do better. So I enjoy that.
Yeah. And hopefully in the future, it remains to be just a tool for the people for good. I think I'll just do the outro quickly so we can just cover up the brief after that. So thanks a lot, Lance, for the call. It's been really great. I actually haven't smiled and laughed this much every now and then. But it's been a good chat. Like I'm kind of eager to have another episode of this, but it depends on your availability.
You just let me know. Next week, it probably have to be at the end of the week. The first of the week is pretty stacked up, but if not next week, just hit me up and let me know. I'm happy if I can be helpful, and if this is good for you and everybody, just kind of
Thanks for watching that episode. I hope you enjoyed. For more videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe.